4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome back to Girls on Deck. I am joined by Kayla Burge and we have a great show planned for today. We'll be joined by the other Kayla in Hitting the Field, Kayla Lewis, to talk about the MLB free agents that have not signed yet anywhere. Later we'll be joined by Tumetel and Jeff Laux to discuss the NBA season and what's to come. Girls on Deck starts now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
We saw a few major signings before the MLB went on lockdown in December, but there are still some big players that have yet to sign anywhere. We're joined by Kayla Lewis to discuss where these players may go once baseball is back up and running, if it's back up and running. Kayla, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are so excited to have you.
Okay, so let's jump right into it, Kayla. I know you're a huge Braves fan, so this one might hurt to talk about a little bit. But Freddie Freeman, star first baseman and 2020 National League MVP, is up for grabs, and many Braves fans think he won't be returning. Kayla, if he doesn't stay in Atlanta, where do you think he'll go?
Well, I obviously want him to stay in Atlanta. I'm going to be really sad if he leaves. I know the Dodgers have checked in with him before the lockout, the Yankees, and there's a lot of rumors about the Yankees all of a sudden that they think he's going to go there, but I don't think so. I don't think the Yankees are going to be willing to dish out that much money. On the other hand, the Mets have checked in, and I think that might be his top contender when the lockout is over. You know, he wants 6 years. The Braves offered him 5, and if he doesn't stay with the Braves, I honestly think it's going to be the Mets.
Yeah, I don't understand all the Yankees talks. I think it's a very overdone move where the team that you're on your whole life, you finally leave, you go to the Yankees. Like, it's overplayed, and they're still going to be out in the first round of the ALDS, so it doesn't matter. The Yankees are still going to suck, even if he signed Freddie Freeman. So I don't understand that. I don't think they need him even. And the DH position is already filled, so you could say that, but I don't think so. I think Freddie Freeman could go to the Phillies because, especially with the new DH role, I think he could be a really big asset there, another hitting power for him.
Well, I agree with you, Kayla. I think the same. I think that if this is something that you don't want to end up at the Yankees. I mean, looking at what other players have done who have spent their career playing with the same team and then they move to the Yankees, it hasn't been successful. It's not fixing their problems. So
yeah, I think they definitely need to focus on pitching more than anything. And I think the Phillies, they have Hoskins, which I think would be a good alternate for Hoskins and Freeman. And again, that DH position is back, so that's going to bring a lot of kind of exciting, I guess, possibilities for teams and signing players with a lot of these players that we're going to talk about today. I mean, they can kind of be a little more versatile on teams with that being instilled in the National League. Kayla, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I really think it's going to be the Mets. I mean, the Phillies. But I just think they also, though, the Mets have Pete Alonso on first base, and he is saying he does not want to, give it up or be moved to split. I think Freeman would be an asset to them. They're in, a 36-year playoff drought. I don't know. I think he'll end up there. I don't want him to leave. I honestly think he's going to end up there, though.
I don't see him staying with the Braves. I think we would have known by now if maybe he was going to stay. But again, we also don't know a lot of things within baseball. So he could end up staying. I think the Mets is a really big possibility. I know you say Pete Alonso doesn't want to give up that spot. And I don't think he has to because of that DH role and kind of just being a little more versatile. And I think Pete Alonso can, maybe try other positions and they can kind of figure it out. So I think Freddie Freeman would be a good asset to them. Basically, any team that may already have a first baseman but might need that designated hitter position filled, I think Freddie Freeman is a perfect option if you're willing to take out your wallets. Now, an underdog team I would love to see take him would be the Miami Marlins because I'm waiting for them to take a star player, but
oh, Kayla, we're going to be waiting a while.
Yeah, we're going to be waiting a long time. I don't think Derek Jeter wants to do that, but I would love to see that. I love that, the Texas Rangers took up Corey Seager, which we'll talk about kind of that situation in a second. But I like that these smaller teams are kind of bringing out their wallets to get these bigger players. Kayla, what do you think?
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of teams that you maybe underestimated trying to build their roster up, and it's all about the money. And that's why also the Yankees, they come into it, they're not willing to dish out all that money. It's all about the money, and that's why there's a lockout.
Yeah, well, another player who is still unsigned is legendary Clayton Kershaw. The thought of him playing literally anywhere else but Dodger Stadium hurts my heart, but it is a possibility. The Dodgers were able to re-sign Chris Taylor before lockdown, but did not do so with Kershaw. Kayla Lewis, do you want to see him stay with the Dodgers, or do you think it's time he moves on?
I think it's time he moves on. You saw, his teammate Corey Seager signed to the Rangers. I think that may be where he ends up. It would help them in the clubhouse. It'll build their pitching staff. That's what they need. And here's a hot take. What about retirement? He spoke out in October saying he doesn't know about his future, so that could also be a possibility.
Well, when you see someone reject $120 million, you got to ask a couple questions.
Yeah, I don't see Clayton Kershaw retiring just yet. I don't think he wants to go out the way, he would be going out with an injury from last season. So I don't think that's his goal. I think he's going to stay with the Dodgers, and I may be very, very optimistic with that. He could very well leave and go to the Rangers, which if he's going to go anywhere, I would love to see him go there. It's his hometown. Corey Seager's there. He has that kind of team dynamic already, and they're a team that could use that pitching, and we're seeing them make moves to try and be that playoff contender. But I would love to see him stay with the Dodgers. I think they still need him. I don't think he's done with LA. He was just hanging out with his buddy Matthew Stafford at the Super Bowl, so I don't think he's done there.
But does his age concern you? Does his injuries concern you?
It does concern me, but at the end of the day, he is still one of the greatest pitchers of all time, and you cannot take that away from him. And he's still playing, even with the injuries, despite anything, he is still someone to rely on. The only issue is in recent years, within the postseason, he hasn't been as good as he is in the regular season. So you can kind of compare that, and that could be cause for concern for some teams.
Well, this just could be the year of the greatest of all time stepping down. And also, I just wanted to let you know, as of 5 minutes ago, Derek Jeter has stepped down from the Miami Marlins. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what Johnny was saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
So maybe that's why they're not spending the big bucks, because he left.
I'm kind of happy.
Ago.
Is that a bad thing to say? Probably, but wow. What? Okay, we'll have to talk about that one next time we're on Girls on Deck.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
I was really stunned. We'll have to talk about that one next time, but I want to go into Astros star shortstop Carlos Correa.
I think we should talk about it right now.
Right now?
I think you're a little stunned. Let's
I am a little
talk
stunned.
about
That's
it.
why I'm ready to move on, but.
I mean, it's fine. Do you think him stepping down is a result in what's going to come to the MLB's decision in the next couple days? Do you think this is
It does.
preface?
I wonder if he almost, he's been on the player's side of things, so I almost wonder if he's not.
This is a side with the players.
Right, if he's not kind of agreeing with what the MLB is doing and their inability to kind of just come to any sort of agreement. So I would love to see that. I'm interested to see what the Marlins do. I don't think they were doing necessarily bad. I think they still have a lot of room for improvement, but I think he was working on that. So I'm curious what factors led to his stepping down. Kayla Lewis, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm shocked, but maybe now they're dish out more money. They don't have him, so now they can use anyone.
Honestly, it's very up in the air for the Marlins, but I feel like until we find more things out, it could either be a really exciting thing or a really scary thing for the Miami Marlins, but it's not like anything was happening much with them anyways. Again, like I said, they're not the best, but they were kind of getting a little better, so we'll see what happens with them.
Best thing about Miami Marlins is the tacos they sell in the stadium, okay?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, that's about it. And then there's 5 people in the stands to root them on. So.
Right. So, back to it. Carlos Correa.
Carlos Correa is also on the market. This is another player who hasn't yet left the team he started with. He is coming off of a great 2021 season statistically. So, Kellie, where do you think he ends up?
Okay, so I don't want to be saying the same thing, that he's going to go to the Yankees, because I don't think that's going to happen. But looking at trend, I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm curious, we were chatting about it before the show today. You had some interesting takes on where you thought he was going to end up, because I know there's like 5 or 6 different teams that have their name in the fishbowl. So
Right. To be quite honest with this one, I don't have an answer that I'm like, yes, that's going to be it. But I have heard the Cubs being thrown around, and I do think that would be a great thing. I think, they got rid of Kris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo last season, and so I think they have that pocket space to kind of take him on. And I think he could really work in Chicago. Again, going back to that designated hitter position, they have a solid shortstop, but I think they could use him for other hitting power, because say what you want, he's an amazing hitter, amazing. So he is going to be an asset to any team he goes on. My fear is he does have a little bit of an attitude, so I don't know if team dynamic might be a little bit tricky with some teams, but again, I don't know if that was just with the Astros, or he'll just be a better person because, maybe the Astros is just toxic.
Maybe it just is the environment in its whole, because a lot of messiness coming out of that city, out of that team.
I am a little bit biased, I do have to say.
But I mean, hey, we have a lot of drama queens and kings in the professional sports industry.
We could talk about that for
days.
days.
Just a part of it, exactly.
Kellie, moving on.
The last player we're going to talk about today is our first baseman, Anthony Rizzo. He was with the Cubs since 2012 until last season when they pretty much cleaned house and sent him off to surprise the Yankees. Kayla Burge, where do you think he'll go?
I think Anthony Rizzo, and Kayla, you're not going to like me for this, I think they get rid of one first baseman. Why don't you take on another? Anthony Rizzo is going to the Atlanta Braves. What do you think?
Well, I mean, he'd be an asset. The Braves are also looking at Matt Alonso. That's their first choice if Freeman leaves. I think he's going to end up at the Braves. Either that or the Cubs. They already have Marcus Stroman on their roster. I think he would help build up their roster a little bit better. But I think the first choice would be to the Braves. I agree.
Yeah, I saw other teams being thrown around, but I just think he would really fit there, and I do not see him staying on the Yankees. Again, the Yankees have so much other things to focus on within their organization, like the pitching, because, again, that's been their issue every postseason is the pitching. So I don't see them taking any one of these big free agents on besides a pitcher, and I don't think they're going to take Clayton Kershaw. I don't even think that's in the question. They're spending too much money on Garrett Cole. I think they need another kind of maybe a little lesser. But yeah, I definitely think I see him going to Atlanta. But I think I want to go back to you with Carlos Correa. I forgot to ask you, where do you think he's going?
Well, I don't like the Astros, the cheaters. Glad we beat them. I don't know. I think the Yankees could really use him, but I've also heard the Cubs are interested. He wants something like a 10-year contract, but the Cubs only want to give him like 2 to 3. And for the Cubs, that's not really going to help their roster. They have too many holes to only use him for 2 years. So I think maybe the Yankees, honestly.
We'll see. Again, it's all kind of unraveling. It's not yet allowed to be unraveling, but that is all the time we have for this segment. When we come back, we'll be joined by Jeff Laux and Cliff Tumetel to discuss this NBA season.
Because I am a New York Giants fan and I want my first pick of the week to be my team. I see an upset for the New York Giants this Sunday. Bet your entire savings, and I'm telling you right now, they're gonna win. I don't care what you say. It's gonna happen.
I have to go with the Raiders, I think, for this one. I don't see them losing.
Welcome back. It is now time for our primetime picks of the week, the best segment. I'm currently doing awful, standing at 16-10, Oklahoma State and Texas. I'm going Texas 35-27.
All right, Jeff, don't tell me your winner, but who is going to the Super Bowl?
The New England Patriots.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
God.
The
Oh
NFL
my
is
God.
the NFL is gonna make it happen.
We we are back and ready to talk about this NBA season and James Harden's amazing debut with the Sixers. We're joined by Tumetel and Jeff Laux. Cliff, we'll start with you today. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. I mean, this is my first time being on Girls on Deck, so I'm pretty excited.
We're so excited to have you. Jeff, how about you? How are you feeling today?
Hey, I'm always doing wonderful, and I'm glad you came to join us on Girls on Deck. It's going to be a great show.
Well, let's jump right in. James Harden made his Sixers debut last week, and he showed out. He became the first player in NBA history to score at the least 25 points and 10 assists with his first 2 starts with the team. Cliff, what did you think about his debut? He looking pretty great.
I mean, the stuff that he's putting up right now is what we expect from James Harden back at the Nets. I mean, 27 points in the first game and 26 points in the second game as the Sixers.
29.
I could be wrong, but it's still pretty mean stats over there. So I'm really excited to see how this team will work with James Harden. I mean, the recipe that they have here, I think, is perfect for him. I mean, you got the big man Joel Embiid and you got the guard James Harden. It's always a recipe for success when you have a small and a big being their stars.
Right.
Absolutely. And what do you think this means for the Sixers, the future of them?
The future is it's like playoff now. I mean, playoff now, championship now. This team is tailored to what James Harden wants. He loves passing it out to the 3-pointers, and now you add someone like Embiid underneath it. They can run a pick and roll with them. Embiid can just cut to the basket or stretch open for the 3, and James Harden can just cut into the basket, which is something we've been seeing throughout his time as a player there at any team. And now you got 3-pointers. I mean, the Sixers are top 10 for 3-point shooting as a team. So he's got all his weapons with him right now. And again, you add Embiid underneath there.
And Jeff,
that's a tough thing to do.
I'm curious to think what you think is going to play out with the team dynamic between Harden and Embiid.
I mean, I honestly believe that James Harden looks rejuvenated. He looks skinnier. He looks like he's happier. Maybe it's just the new debut for the 76ers, but I'm really believing that James Harden is wanting to play there, wanting to, make a dominant duo with Joel Embiid. And the one thing we're forgetting about is the career season Tyrese Maxey is having right now. He's allowing the space on the floor to be open now with James Harden there, and Tyrese Maxey is averaging almost 20 points. He's having a crazy good season, something we didn't see for him, And I believe that Harden and Embiid are going to make their teammates around them even better, and that's what's going to propel them to the Eastern Conference Championship.
So you think they take the Eastern Conference?
I wouldn't say that because there's so much wild factors that play into the NBA. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to see over the next week or two.
Well, I think, again, the Eastern Conference is, what Jeff said, a wild card. I mean, you got the Heat, you got the Bulls, and you got the Bucks as well as the Nets. I mean, there's just so much up there right now at this point. But I do like their chances of taking the East. I mean, again, this is their honeymoon phase, so to speak. The teams don't know how to play against them, but as the season wears on, they'll start having game plans. But I mean, I like their chances, Jeff. There's still 2 stars over there.
Yeah, and the thing is, Harden's played with better backcourts than what he has right now. He's played with Kyrie Irving, John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul. And none of them have made him happy what's happening with the Sixers right now. So I agree with you also.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think the future is looking pretty good for the Sixers. Now, do you think it's just looking good for this season, or do you think Harden will stick with them for the long haul?
I mean, I think Harden will stay for the long haul. Again, he's playing with a center, and his game style doesn't have to change because Embiid's game style is completely different as well. Now, Embiid does have to make some sacrifices with his offensive role because he's been the main ball dominant handler. But with Harden out there, he doesn't really have to do a lot more because Harden's going to help him. He's going to help him have a lot more open baskets. In an interview, Embiid said he hasn't seen a basket this open for him for a long time. He's been double teamed, triple teamed, but now you've got someone like James Harden right there at the perimeter. What can you do to stop that? Again, the big star, the small star guard. It's a recipe for success. We've seen it multiple times. Kareem, Magic, Kobe, Shaq, and although they didn't win the championship, Karl Malone and John Stockton, they were pretty successful.
Well, you just said although they didn't win the championship, what do you think that this duo could bring us this season? Do you think maybe that could be that short and big duo you're talking about that can finally get it done and win the championship?
They could be. I mean, again, this team, it's catered to what Harden wants. And now I'm saying there's a lot of contenders out there that can beat them, and their game plan isn't what they probably not going to see. But we'll see how it goes. But I truly think they have a chance to win that championship.
Well, there's still a bit of time before we head into the postseason, but there have been many players showing out this season. Jeff, I know it's a little premature, but who looks like they're in the running for MVP this season?
And look, they just released a poll of the top 5 players that made the MVP listings, and he wasn't even a part of it. But Ja Morant, the point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies, only over 3 years, he's changed the whole course of that franchise. That franchise was sad, almost as sad as the Orlando Magic. And now they are happy up in the second place spot, right behind Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. I mean, who would have thought this was what happened over only just 3 years? I mean, he's made all of his teammates around him better, and even in the All-Star game, you saw how much more open space on the floor was for all the rest of the stars to go take shots. He was going down the lane, throwing the ball back out. He wanted to win the All-Star MVP also, and I also think he's going to win the regular season MVP. He's brought a team down from the dungeon all the way up to the top, to the kingdom.
Well, to play off of that, I think it's going to be Giannis. I always mess up his last name. Let me not even try. When I met him, I overheard him talking about Ja Morant and Steph Curry and how he thinks Ja Morant's going to be the MVP this year, and that was a couple months ago. So I think it's going to be Giannis, but I mean, Giannis thinks it's going to be Ja Morant. So
I think that's a pretty solid guess, Jeff. And I think, we've seen that within the NBA, it's possible that one person can change a whole team. I mean, LeBron's done it everywhere he's gone. So, Cliff, what do you think?
Well, I think my MVP is, Nikola Jokic. Yeah, I know, but if we're looking at his team, he's almost averaging the same as he did last season, but with less help. His co-star Jamal Murray is out, Michael Porter Jr. is out, and if you ask the casual, the only player they probably might know on the Nuggets team aside from Jokic is Aaron Gordon. So he's playing with less help and he's averaging these numbers. It's impressive as it is, and although his team isn't in the top seed, I mean, it's still close. They're tied with the Mavericks for the game that 5th seed, and there's still plenty of basketball left in them to just grab that top half of the seed. So if we're going by his seed standings, then he still has a chance to get there because, the MVP narrative, it's always changing, but there's one thing that's always consistent is how good is that team? Where are they right now? And honestly, he's averaging a lot of triple doubles. He's 4 or 5 away from tying Wilt Chamberlain from passing him as having the most triple doubles as a center. And anytime you pass Wilt Chamberlain for a record, I mean, it says a lot on how good he's playing.
But Wilt Chamberlain won championships. What has Nikola Jokic done?
I mean, he still has time to win a championship.
But he's been balling the past 3 or 4 seasons, and you haven't seen him elevate to that status yet.
Well, it's not his fault that his team, he's not having any help right now. I mean, his co-star's out. What more can you do?
I mean, Jamal Murray was in there last season, the season before that, so
he still needs help than Jamal Murray. And Ja Morant, I mean, the Grizzlies are great and all, but they're 12-2 without him so far when he's out.
But doesn't that show that he is an MVP if when he's out there? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, Ja Morant on the with Grizzlies without Ja Morant, their record currently it was 12-2. That's a pretty good record for not having your MVP there. And I guarantee you, if Jokic is out, Nuggets are going to fall down the standings.
So this is the game we're playing. Cliff.
He leads the NBA in the paint.
This is the game we're going to play. If he's out,
inside the arc at a point guard position, you don't see point guards dominating in the paint unless it's.
But you don't see centers having those putting up those numbers, triple doubles left and right. Come on.
But the Nuggets have been an okay franchise for a majority of this time period. It's not like the Memphis Grizzlies have been a contender by any means.
How is that Jokic's fault? He's been putting up the work and effort to keep on there.
When you have a system,
that's the franchise fault.
When you have a system in place in a franchise, as I can say as a Browns fan, you're used to mediocrity. The Memphis Grizzlies were used to mediocrity, and now they're finally elevating to the top, and it's because of one player making all of his teammates around him better. He's one of the only players to average 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists at age 22. The only other players, Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, Tracy McGrady, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic.
Cliff, you should really listen to Jeff here because he knows how it feels to be a loser consistently. He's trying to help you out. He's trying to give you advice. He's trying to give you words of encouragement and comfort.
He could be a really good therapist in this area.
He knows what it's like to lose. He literally loves Ohio teams. Come on.
Hey, you don't have to do Jeff like that.
I'm gonna have my own sports counseling services. Just call my hotline. I got you. I'll let you know why your franchise sucks and how we can get through this together.
We'll have the commercial for that one next week. But I feel like we're just watching kind of the Cliff and Jeff debate at this point. Kelly and I are just here for God knows what anymore.
I should have brought some snacks. Man.
Honestly, we might as well brought some popcorn.
Maybe some peanut butter Buckeyes.
Ooh, yeah. But Cliff, I want to know.
Ohio themed. Looks like shit. Tastes good though. Tastes great.
Cliff, I want to know who you have as your top 3 to win the NBA title.
My top 3? Well, first, number 1 is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I know they're currently in the 4th seed, but if you take a look at the roster, there was riddled with injuries for their key players. I mean, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, they were injured. They need those. That's like that's 2 of their big 3 out. And Brook Lopez is an underrated anchor that they need over there, and he's still out. But like again, this roster is almost complete. It's almost done. We've seen it. I know they lost against the Nets, but like it's a loss in a regular season, so it doesn't matter. They'll still have time to like get that chemistry back together. And I'm pretty sure Giannis has been hearing all that talk of their championship being a fluke, and it doesn't take much to get Giannis going. Honestly, like he's been playing an MVP level as well. So you don't want to get him mad. And the way he's been like hitting those jumpers, it's been improving a lot. And my second will be the Warriors. I mean, we all know this story. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green's coming back. What can you expect? And also they have another All-Star with them in Andrew Wiggins. So that's a mean roster. And the Suns, I mean, I actually put them ahead of the Warriors, but Chris Paul's injured, so we'll see.
Jeff, what do you think?
I'm just going to tell you the 3 teams. So Chicago, Golden State, and the Grizzlies. I'm going to tell you why the Grizzlies are going to win it, because I believe in Ja Morant. I believe in that team.
My God, bro.
What do you mean? That team is built to win. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr., a lottery pick only a couple of years ago, he's playing out of his mind. Brandon Clark is starting to come back around. I mean, I feel like the team, bench-wise, they're not deep, but they're a solid pick. That's all I got to say.
Jeff, I don't know, your picks after the whole Patriots going to the Super Bowl thing, I don't know how much faith I have left in them. And why are we not talking about the Miami Heat? I might be biased here, but they seem to be showing out pretty good.
I still don't trust them in the East. I mean, Jimmy Butler, he's been there before, but I as a Magic fan, I have to be biased. I just can't stand the Miami Heat.
How can you even compare the 2 teams? They're not even in the same like realm.
Yeah. I mean,
Raised as an Orlando Magic fan, I was bred to hate the Miami Heat. So I understand. I have no reason, but it's okay. But you guys, thank you so much for being on Girls on Deck today. We've really appreciated it. And now it's time for our favorite segment of the week.
It is Woman of the Week. We have the UCF women's basketball team this week, and I'm so excited to be talking about them. They are 25. I believe they went 25-3 for the season. They are officially the American Athletic Conference champions, and they are well deserving of this title. It's the first time they've held this title since 2005. These women have been showing out this year, and they are finally getting the recognition that they deserve for it. Kellie, what did you think?
Well, honestly, first of all, can we talk about how they're ranked? Alex Funderburk, our women's basketball team, is ranked. I know you're just beaming with joy. They are so impressive to me this season, and I don't think they're getting the credit that they deserve. They just won the conference title. But here's the thing. There's 17 teams ranked ahead of us with more losses. And that is a slap in the face to these girls, because they've just been dominating this entire season and playing their hearts out and doing it for a school that often they need more fans to show out. I think as a university and as a school that has a women's basketball team that did just win the conference and has a contention to play in the NCAA March Madness tournament, I think that we should come out, we should support these ladies, and because go Knights.
No, that was one thing. I went to a women's basketball game not too long ago, and there was like 5 students in the stand, and it broke my heart because these women are absolutely killing it. They are playing at such a high level. They are one of the best in the entire NCAA, I think. And Jeff, I want to know what you think of this women's team.
This women's team is ridiculously talented. They are holding their opponents to 48.5 points per game. They held Cincinnati at 39 points. They almost kept them in single digits in the first half of the game. And it was just a great revenge game, because the only loss we took in the conference was against Cincinnati, at Cincinnati earlier a month ago. And then we come back and we start beating the brakes off of them when, they showed us that, the record doesn't matter. Cincinnati is the worst team in the AAC, and they actually showed up and put up a fight in the first matchup. But the second matchup, our team came out and we're swinging. The 5th-year seniors wanted that. All of our players seemed like they were just there defensively. They caused 9 turnovers in the first half also. Like, they're smothering them.
Well, it's absolutely what you love to see. There's no one who deserves it more, and especially those fifth-year seniors. So I hope that they can continue this run for them and maybe even make it all the way. I mean, this is already breaking history for UCF's women's basketball.
And it'll be I'm so interested to see once we get into that Big 12 conference how just the rest of our sports are going to expand. I mean, we're not just a football school. We've seen it. Track won the conference championships. We have softball killing right now. We have baseball killing right now. Women's basketball, men's basketball. We are a school that can dominate across the board in sports. So,
but they need our support.
Yes,
and we have
they
to show
need our
up. This is the biggest school in the country. So when they
Absolutely.
get into the title games, show up, show out. But thank you so much for joining us, the Girls on Deck today. That is all the time we have left, and we hope to see you next week.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.